Seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Coffee Club, broadcasting live from New York with your host, Felix, and co-host, Dr. Mark. So let's have a cup of coffee and enjoy the show.
There is no heaven. There is
no
hell.
Heaven. There is no hell. There is only this world and its dark reflection. And we do not know in which of the two worlds we are.
We are live, late and live from New York. It is the Coffee Club. And I'm your host, Felix.
And I am Dr. Mark, calling from my home.
All right. You somehow started this show by calling in. I have no idea how you did that.
I wish they would tell me how. I mean, it's news to me.
I know, right? You know, today's show's about family, but before we speak about that, I just want to say a quick word about what's going on in Baltimore, Maryland. I just hope to God that it doesn't turn to be another Ferguson. They just called in a state of emergency. There are 7 cops that were injured. There's a lot of looting, stores burning.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been watching it for a better part of the day. I mean, there's so much to talk about. You know, there's Nepal in India. You know, that terrible tragedy, over 4,000 people killed from an earthquake. You know, and what's going on in Baltimore, the latest of the American cities to be hit by tragedy. You know, you can't even say that it was excessive force by the police because we really don't know why Freddie Gray died. He was arrested. The next thing you know, he was in the hospital, and the next thing you know, he was dead. So waiting for autopsy reports and toxicology, you know, but once again, this was supposed to be, you know, the day of his funeral was supposed to be a day of protest, and all of a sudden, everything got way out of hand, and there's looting, of course. That's the first thing that happens, the looting and the violence toward the police. The police are trying to be very restrained, I must say that. You know, they're trying to contain the crowds. And who's in the crowd? You have 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids. You know, school let out at about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and from that point on, it's been terrible. Now, I don't know how you feel, Felix, but I mean, you know, one can understand the frustration of the African-American community, but the bottom line is nothing's been proven here.
Well, the first thing is,
I mean, has not been any proof that there was any wrongdoing.
The parents,
you know,
the parents of the deceased,
and it seems like, I mean, the height of ridiculousness is that the one store that seems to be looted the most is the CVS store, okay, which is a pharmacy, okay? And what are the kids taking? They're taking candy, all right? I mean, all this looting and the violence toward the police, and they're stealing candy, you know? You know, it leaves one speechless to wonder exactly what are they protesting. I can understand their frustration. Well, many Americans can understand their frustration, but it's senseless violence. That's what it is.
Well, first thing is the parents of the deceased asked for calm, and they didn't want anything going on today to respect the funeral and to respect them, and that didn't happen. The CVS, I mean, I don't know about the candy that they were stealing, or I'm sure other stuff was taken too besides candy. It was also torched, burnt down.
I know.
And while
I know
the police
that.
department
I
was
saw that
trying
happening. I actually saw it happening, For what reason? Here you have a pharmacy, that the people need in the neighborhood. People get their drugs there, Senior citizens and sick people get their prescriptions filled. Where are they going to go now?
Well, Mark, this is besides being, CVS is a big supplier of a lot of things because there are no shops in that neighborhood per se.
No, I understand that. But from a practical point of view, if you were a senior citizen, or if you know of a senior citizen living in the neighborhood, or if you're sick and you need drugs, you need medication, where are you going to go now? You can't go there.
Not just that. Also, if you wanted some bread and milk, or paper towels, or anything, there are no stores locally. This was the newest store built in the area. And if you were watching what was happening when they were trying to put out the fire, people were putting holes in the fire hose with knives. I don't know if you saw that, Mark.
No, I didn't.
I guess you weren't watching CNN.
No, I was watching a combination of Channel 4 and MSNBC.
Yeah, CNN had the guy right there on the line where they were trying to put out the fire, and these guys running by, putting knife holes in the hose. And this poor newscaster looked like he was having a heart attack. All the stuff that's going around him, because he was on this. Mark, I don't know what the noise you're making, but you're making a lot of it.
Well, it's just the whole thing is very tragic. It truly is.
Did you hear what I just said about the noise?
What noise?
Okay, you didn't hear what I said. I said you were making a lot of noise. I don't know what it was.
I'm not making any noise.
Not anymore, Ollie. You couldn't hear me when I was talking to you because you were making too much noise. I don't know. Anyway,
Felix, I heard you. You asked
did?
me if I saw the person putting holes in the hose, and I said no, I didn't. And you said, oh, you weren't watching CNN, and I said no, I was watching Channel 4 or MSNBC.
And after
like
that,
I said before, if you want to argue, you can do the show yourself.
Arguing about what? There was some noise, and I just said, you didn't hear me the first time. What was the noise?
No, not from this end. No noise from this end.
Okay. Anyway, okay. All right. It doesn't matter. One of the things that families do is argue and fight. But it's the same noise I just heard now.
I have no idea what you're hearing. It's not coming from here.
It's like a crackling noise.
But, hey, by the same token, I keep getting feedback. I don't know where it's coming from, but I keep hearing things repeated twice, or I hear things in the background. Okay? I have no idea where that's coming from. I'm not complaining.
It's not complaining. It's nothing to do with complaining, Mark. We're just trying to make it so that people don't hear a lot of noise. I don't know where. It sounds like it's coming from you. It may not be.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm here and there's absolutely no noise. The TV is on mute. I'm talking to you, and that's it.
Okay. No problemo. Okay, so our topic today, family. What would you do for them? Mark, you do. I know a lot of people do you do a lot of sacrifices, and why do we do that? What do you think?
I think
Love?
it's sort of inbred, you know. I mean, you're taught that, you know, in many instances, you know, friends may come and go in your life. And when you think about it, sometimes that's true, you know. You can have friends and there's a falling out or whatever, but the one thing that is always a constant would be family. However, you know, even within families nowadays, I mean, there are rifts, you know, in families, and there are disagreements, arguments, over trivial things, mind you. Most of these things are trivial, okay? And you know, you find that, you know, what happens is when you're supposed to get together, let's say for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Jewish holidays, people don't want to get together because they say, oh, is this one going to be here? Because if that one's going to be here, I'm not going to come, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like no happy medium.
You know, and it's a shame. But before we forget, Mark, our phone number is 646-595-3275. If you want to talk about...
Well, I realize that because I called you.
That's true. You did. Still haven't figured that one out yet.
I even called you before you were on the air.
I know. I want to figure that one out.
Don't
and
even
you logged
bother.
me in, too. When I got on, it said, appears your show has been on already. Figure that one out.
Well, then those people who, you know, the few loyal listeners who tune in at 9 o'clock will probably have heard me calling in and then hanging up because there was nobody there. I was listening and listening. You know, they kept saying, hold on and listen to the show. And I'm saying,
you were still somehow connected.
I don't want to listen to the show. I want to be in the show.
But you were still connected somehow.
Well,
that's the part that
evidently
doesn't make sense.
I don't know how, but it happened.
Did you call back a second?
Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you give us a call? Let us know if those things have ever happened to you. I mean, a misunderstanding between family members. You know, I mean, look, family members argue all the time. Even within a nuclear family of, let's say, a brother, a sister, and parents. Very simply, 4 people. You know, you could be sitting around the dinner table, and you know somebody says something, and you take issue, and all of a sudden there's an argument. Oh, and by the way, Felix, as I'm talking to you, I hear myself being repeated, and I don't know why. I don't know if it has something to do with the volume. I have no idea why, but I'm just telling you that there's a possibility that some of our listeners might be hearing that as well. You know, I don't know.
I can't figure it out. It has something.
Well, there are a lot of things about the show we can't figure out. You know, for one thing, we can't figure out how we broadcast every week, but we managed to do that. You know.
You know those cans in wire last a long time.
We find that families are not tolerant of each other's opinions and differences. Okay. Not everybody in a family has to feel exactly the same way you do. You know, I mean, people are entitled to have their own opinions, and you've heard me say this many times. In fact, the first time I said this, Felix even raised an eyebrow. I said, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. You know, I mean, Felix and I don't even agree half the time. I mean, that's obvious from the way we argue, the bantering that goes on between the two of us. But the bottom line is, he is entitled to his opinion, I'm entitled to my opinion, and then we just move on. You know, let's face it, if everybody agreed there would be no fighting. There would be no war. Things